Welcome to the Wisconsin and Missouri State Fair call. Welcome to everybody. It was amazing seeing all of you in person at the retreat, and look forward to hanging out here for the next couple hours and learning as much as possible. So we're going to be going through a lot of content today. So please make sure you're on video for the duration of the call. You can see my lovely wife is on this call, Christina Snider. She is okay to not be on video, but everyone else must be on video, even if you are not working the state fair. So that includes you, Kevin Gordon. Make sure you're on video. If you can't be on video, go ahead and jump off the call. So please be on video for the duration of the call. But just want to go through a couple of reminders here to start the call, and then we'll dive into our content here, and I'll introduce our MC for the day. So first off, for setup, if you haven't done this yet, please text me when you plan to arrive. If you are for Wisconsin State Fair, please text me when you plan to arrive if we are using your display. So I've already texted those people. You know who you are, but text me when you plan to arrive for the State Fair setup. Okay. The following is going to be what we need. We need 2 display boards, plexiglass, 3 main knife sets, full flatware, complete cookware set for the people that I reach out to. And everybody that I've reached out to, I've already told you what we need and it's already in the calendar, but this is what's going to be supplied for everybody else too, just so you know. But yeah, it's 2 display boards, plexiglass, 3 main knife sets, full flatware, complete cookware set, tables, tablecloths, backdrop, lighting, a box fan, and 1 set of outdoor knives. If you need anything else for your display, please bring it. Okay. So if you're working Wisconsin and you need more than those things, please bring it. If you are working Missouri, we need everything. I'm working with Pat and Jerry for tables and tablecloths, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But if you want anything else on your table in front of you, you need to bring that. Tickets, as I mentioned earlier on the call here, I'm picking those up today and I'll be mailing those out today as well. So if you ordered extra tickets, sorry, they're going to be here by the end of the week, so you have to turn around and ship them right away, but you should still be able to get them out before the fair. If you did not order extra tickets for customers and you just need them for getting into the fair for Wisconsin, I will have those at setup. For Missouri, Jerry or Pat will be picking those up and you guys can coordinate pickup tickets from them. Order forms and drawing cards, we will be using those at the fair. Order forms are for ROR orders. If it's a past customer, you know they don't have a rep that they work with, you can just process the order on the app. These will be supplied for you. If your booth is running low in the middle of the fair, please notify me. Leather can be picked up for Wisconsin in Expo 1300 booth. That's the booth that I'll be in for most of the fair. But make sure you bring some leather with you. Because if we run out, we'll be done, and then you'll have to run to Hobby Lobby. So I do have a pretty big box, so we should be good, but I don't think I have enough for literally every single person. If you're working Missouri, bring leather and pennies. And then for drawing cards, just so you know how they work, essentially what you do is you say, oh, do you have a Cutco person? Or if they, when they walk up to the booth, if they say they already own Cutco or they work with a Cutco person or something like that, you say, oh, cool, you fill out this drawing card, you got to get in our drawing. FYI, for both fairs, we are going to, instead of everyone doing their own drawing, you can do that if you want for your own past customers, but we're actually going to be using the team account to raffle off 2 homemaker sets, 1 for Wisconsin, 1 for Missouri. So you guys don't have to pay for any of that. That's coming out of our team account. So, but make sure you put your customers on the drawing card and all of everyone else's customers on that drawing card, so they actually get entered into that drawing. We'll do the drawing after the fairs are done, probably in September. So what you do is you fill out the drawing card, and then as you're building rapport with the customer or moving into the next thing, like, oh, do you want to check out the new stuff, anything like that, you go on the Dropbox ROR form and you find the customer. Now, the importance of this is to find out if they are an ROR customer. Okay. If they're on somebody's ROR list, then it's like, okay, cool. I know I'm dealing with somebody else's customer. Why is that important? We are testing a new policy at Wisconsin and Missouri. If you write up an ROR order, or if you're working with somebody else's customer, and you know this because you wrote it on a drawing slip, or a customer literally said, oh, hey, I work with Kevin Marr, or something like that, then you know you're working with somebody else's customer. If they bring up a postcard, bring up a piece of marketing, anything like that. Once you are done serving that client, you are first up to go again. So you do not lose your turn. Okay. So if you are working with another person's client, you do not lose your turn. You're back up first once you're done working with the client. Okay. So it is important to use those drawing cards or drawing slips, because if you find out after the fair, well, then it's like you're basically burning a turn. Because, if you treat it like a normal customer, then yes, it'll be a normal customer. But if you find out it's on somebody else's ROR list, then you don't lose your turn. So just kind of keep that in mind. This is only for Wisconsin and Missouri State Fair. So if you're working any other events in the meantime, it's just a normal policy that we've been using all year. If you are writing up an ROR order, use an order form. I said this at the retreat too, but if you are writing up an ROR order, use a paper order form. These will be in the booth. They will be supplied for you, so you don't have to worry about buying them or bringing them, but use a paper order form. Do not say, you know what? I'm lazy. I'm not going to use an order form. No, use a freaking order form. And then get it to that rep once you're done writing up the order, okay? We're not going to do a jillion transfers through Oli and DP. So if you are writing up an ROR order, use an order form. It will be carbon copy. There will be 2 copies. They will be supplied for you. It's going to be great. And then use the Dropbox ROR list. You can use the Google one too, but it's very, 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 very slow. If you don't know how to download the Dropbox one, go ahead and text me. And also, I'm going to share it on the GroupMe too. And then we do have a daily stats form. So for those of you that have done Texas State Fair, Iowa State Fair, or really any invite onlys with our team, these are the daily stats forms. Okay, so there's one for ROR. So if you write up an ROR order, you're going to go ahead and fill it out. So let's say I wrote up an order for Curtis at Wisconsin. I select the booth that I worked in, and then the date of my shift, and then you fill out this form. If you wrote up orders for multiple reps, then you need to fill this form out multiple times. So if I wrote up an order for Curtis, then I fill out this form for Curtis. If I wrote up an order for Fonz, then I fill out this form for Fonz, and it's just a couple basic questions. So I'm going to share these links with you guys, and you'll want to go through them before the fair. And if you have questions, let me know. And then that's for the ROR. And then there's also the daily stat submission. So the ROR form, you only fill out if you write up ROR orders. If you don't have any ROR orders for the day, then there's no need to fill out that form. But if you, this form has to be filled out every single day. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes, but you put in your name, and then what fair you're working, what booth you're in, and then that one makes sense because that's Missouri, but so yeah, you pick out the Missouri State Fair booth or the Wisconsin State Fair booth, the date of your shift, and then regular shift or swing shift, how many past customer orders you had, the amount of CPO, and then the new orders. So this is somebody that is not your past customer. If they own Cutco, that doesn't mean they're a past customer. It's just somebody that hasn't ordered from you, okay? You fill out that. The CPO, how many leads did you collect? Let's say I got 6 service call leads. How many orders did you upserve? So this part, if you want to use paper order forms the entire day, this is going to make this part of the stats form easy, but you'll want to write this down as you're selling. So it makes it easier to fill out this form at the end of the day, so you don't have to figure it out at the end. So how many orders did you upserve? So let's say you sell something, you get the credit card, and then you sell them more after. That's upselling, right? Or upserving. So let's say I upserved for 2 orders. Then you figure out how much CPO you added to those 2 orders, and you add that CPO here, okay? And then the number of packages that you sold, you want to enter that in here. You don't have to figure out every single line, just the ones that you did, and they'll go through. And then how many $1,000 packages? I had 23 today, great. And then just any extra notes about your day. So go ahead and go through this form after the call, obviously, or sometime before the fair, just so you get familiar with it. And then these are all due on, it's due the next day before 9 a.m. Okay, so you'll want to make sure it's done before 9 a.m. Central Time, or 9 a.m. of whatever fair you're working at, which is Central Time, and make sure that's all filled out. But yeah, if you're going through the form and you don't understand something, not the night before, but like this week when you look at it and review it, just let me know and I can always answer any questions. And then the last thing is just make sure you're sharing hot news in the GroupMe. We're here to influence our regional team here, 7 divisional teams. So If you have any hot news at the fairs that you're working at, make sure you share. Don't be afraid to share. Obviously, if you sell a missing table knife, I mean, that's cool to share, but it's, you don't have to share that. But if you're selling a package or a homemaker, you're having fun with somebody in the booth or anything like that, definitely make sure you're sharing in the group me and influence our team. Does anyone have any questions before I turn it over to our MC for the day?
Yeah, what's the code word?
I will give you that here shortly.
Just want to make sure I didn't miss it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, shoot, what's the code word? Any other questions? Okay, so your first code word of the day. So you can go ahead and text this to me now. I want everyone blowing up my phone. The code word is fair. Fair is the first word. So go ahead and my phone's going to start blowing up. This is great. Go ahead and text me the word fair. That is your first code word. And then at the end of the call, there will also be another code word. Jamie and Galaxy Z Fold 3 5G. If you could both get on video, I'd really appreciate it. Must be on video to be on this call. Thank you. And then if you're named after a device, if you could change your name, that would be great too.
Hey, Nick, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
You said there's display boards, but we have to bring our own knives, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So any just the red, or some are white, but red display boards with full plexis, that'll all be provided unless you're somebody that I've reached out to and asked to bring them. And then you will need to put your knives in those display boards.
Okay. And have our own gadgets too.
Correct. Gadgets, bacon serve, any accessories, all that stuff. Cutting boards, we're not supplying those.
Kitchen tools.
Kitchen tools, bring them, all that
Okay.
stuff.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that going to be the same for Missouri too?
Missouri, you need to bring everything. So yeah, so
What's everything?
literally everything. So anything that you want to have displayed at the booth, you need to bring it all. So if you want knife sets, cookware, flatware, bring it all. The only thing that will be supplied are tables, tablecloths, and a backdrop for Missouri.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah. How do we know what is exactly at our individual booth? So I know we're like sharing kits.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, so these things will be in your booth, and then everything else you want to bring. So 2 display boards, the plexiglass to cover the knife sets, that'll all be in the booth. The 3 main knife sets, a full flatware set. Now, just so you know, for the 3 main knife sets, there's a minimum of 2 to 3 in each booth. It just kind of depends on how many people are working. For a full flatware set, there's at least 1 to 2. So you're going to be next to one. If you need to physically have your own full flatware set and you don't want to share with anybody, then bring it. But I mean, you guys should be fine with what we're supplying. If you're in an outdoor booth, there will be a complete cookware set. The 2 expo booths, we're not allowed to display it. And then the tables and all the extra hardware, tables, tablecloths, backdrop, lighting, box fan, all that stuff, that'll also be supplied. And then 1 set of outdoor knives, hunting knives. So that's for Wisconsin.
Great, thanks.
Yep. Anything else that you need, you'll want to bring. The only booth that we won't have a full cookware set, because we don't have a full cookware set to put it in, is the garage or the central marketplace. I just literally bought a brand new aspiring and complete cookware pieces for that booth. If you need more than that, you'll want to also bring that, but that's a pretty good amount of cookware. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our MC for the day. So Lucky Odiasi, our MC. For those of you that don't know Lucky, you haven't been to a rep trip, or you just haven't been, active on our team phone calls. Lucky's amazing. He's an event manager for the team, obviously, really helping out with recruiting. But he's also the energy of this team. So Lucky, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Nick, for that wonderful introduction. I'm excited to be you guys' MC for this state fair call, my first ever and staying top 10 for a state fair call. So it's really exciting as well. So thank you, Nick, for giving me this opportunity. So first off, we have on Philip Tice. He's going to be talking to us about selling business gifts at the booth, which I probably think he's doing right now. So Philip is the awesome guy. He's really doing great things in Cutco currently, and he's destined to do some big things soon in Cutco. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 10 rep soon. I have the pleasure to be in the same mentor group with this guy. He's always impressed me with the hot news he shares, and he drops coaching group as well. And one thing I love about Philip is his willingness to always give back, and he's definitely given back to our team within the last year. He's given some fire talks to our team, which we appreciate as well. And I also appreciate his determination, his competitiveness as well too, and his honest feedback as well. A short time ago, I did a role play with Philip, and he gave me some really good feedback, and that was really valuable for me, and I really appreciated that. So some highlights for Philip is he's at $1.1 million in career sales. His career highlight is he has a 100K SE2 push in 2021. His year highlight for this year is he's actually gotten invited to work 6 different state fairs across the nation. That's amazing. And he's already at 50K plus on just business gifts, which is nuts. And a fun fact about Philip is he was previously a competitive cornhole player before COVID, and he still competes in smaller things from time to time. So I'm really excited to hear this message, Philip, about selling business gifts at the booth. Ladies and gentlemen, Philip Tice.
Awesome, Lucky. I appreciate the intro, and I'm glad to see everybody here today. I'm actually at a service event, and that's why I've got the awesome backdrop behind me. I actually had my best service event day ever yesterday, and I know it's not a traditional booth, but I'm at a booth at the service event. And I sold over 10K in business gift CPO yesterday here at the service event. Oh, that's not true. I sold 7K here, and I sold 3K over the phone. So, but anyways, I'm over 50K. 55K this year at the booth in business gift orders, and I really feel like that's my strength is when it comes to business gifts. I'm still working on the follow-up, and I'm good at that, but I'm not near as good at that as I am at just closing at the booth. And that's really what I want to talk about today and try to get you guys more comfortable, one, having the conversations, which I feel being uncomfortable having them and not knowing what to say is probably what holds us back most of the time. And then the second thing is, how do you handle some of the objections? And, today's going to essentially be just how do you kind of get into that conversation first? What are some habits that you needed to have? And then the next part is going to be about, what is that? Like, how do you paint the picture for the business owner and normalize buying business gifts at a booth, at a fair, at whatever event you're at? Make it normal for them so that when you're having the conversation, it's not like, oh, I didn't, prepare to do this today. And then when you still do get those objections, how do we wrap it up and be able to close something there at the booth on the spot? So that's the 3 sections of my talk today. And I'll go ahead and get started. So step 1 is understanding that we all see people who own businesses. Okay. I when I first joined the industry program, I used to get a ton of, oh, you work industry events, that's why you sell so many business gifts. And I would challenge the people who said that to me, and, hey, look at the numbers. I actually sell more business gifts at my residential events than I do at my industry events. And this is something big that the State Fair of Texas team talks about and the Brian talks about a lot. And, the state fairs that we're at, and even just the small events that we're at, there's business owners there. They're in front of us. It's not like they just all of a sudden appear at an industry event. Like, they're everywhere that we're around. So one is understanding they're in front of you already. You just need to know what to look for, what questions to ask, that type of thing. So the habit that you should have at any event at any point in time, try to squeeze in the rapport question of, hey, by the way, what do you guys do for work? Hey, by the way, what do you do for work? What do you do for a living? Ask that question. It's disguised as rapport. So if it misses and they do something that's not remotely have anything to do with the business, cool, right? It's just a rapport question, right? So it's not really you fishing. They're not feeling that way. But If it lands, then all of a sudden it was actually a prospecting question, and you hit them right on the mark. Okay. So every single time, no matter what, ask, hey, by the way, what do you do for work? And if you guys work with me during the fair, and if you're working with me at all and you're telling me a story, or I see somebody walk away, one of the things I do to hold my teammates accountable, and I'll challenge everybody on this call to do this as well, is when the interaction's over or about to be over, go, hey, what do they do for work? Or, hey, what did those people do for work? And it's a constant reminder of, oh shit, I forgot to ask, and it's just going to hold some accountability, with each other as a team until we all have that type of, habit built in place where it's like an automatic reaction every time. So that's the first thing, guys. Just make sure you're asking everybody. Not everybody's going to own a business. Not everybody's going to manage a business. Not everybody's going to know, but if you don't ask, you don't know. So you have to have the habit of asking every single time. Don't miss the opportunity. Okay. I had a lady yesterday, for example, that I just met her. I got a sharpening lead from a show. She came here to my service event, and she had like a piece of Cutco her mom gave her that she came in with one knife to get sharpened. She didn't buy anything for herself, but I found out she owns a little bridal store here in town, and we ended up getting her 5 Cooks combos on the spot. Never really didn't know anything about Cutco, so it wasn't like she was a Cutco fanatic. She had one knife, and I ended up selling her on the idea. And right on the spot, she spent $1,200-1,300 on some Cooks combos because it made so much sense for her, and there was no reason why she wouldn't do it because I made it make sense, right? So that's just one example there. Somebody that didn't seem qualified, and then all of a sudden they're spending some money. Also understand this, guys. Be curious about businesses. When someone says that they do something for work, be curious. I always ask the question or make the statement, hey, what do you guys do? Or, hey, tell me about that. I do this. Okay, tell me about that. What is that like? What exactly do you do? And let them go further, because a lot of people at first, they'll give you a surface level answer, and because they're just in public and they're not looking to have that conversation, but open them up to it. People love talking about that stuff, and see, as they're answering, see if you can get some ammunition for a business gift pitch. Okay. So what are some of the things that I would be looking for? I would be looking for, one, what exactly is the structure? Are they in sales? Do they have a store? Are they a business that has clients? What kind of clients? Always ask, so how much do your customers spend with you? Just curious, on average, what are they spending? And if they say $100, obviously that's probably not a gifting opportunity. But if they're like, oh, they spend 10 to 15 grand, they spend 100 grand, or I've even gotten, our customers, we don't have many, we got 15, but they spend $1 million to $5 million a piece, and obviously there's enough margin in there and wiggle room where at that point, that this is a good prospect for you to pitch business gifts to. Also understand, where are they at in the supply chain? So write that down, guys. Understand what a supply chain is. This business may not be the main thing, but if they're here, where does the money flow in the supply chain? Who orders from them? Where is their stuff going? Who does it ultimately serve? Right? How do they get that business? Do they have distributors? Do they have salespeople that go out and get the business? Try to figure out what's the opportunity here? Are we doing employee gifts? Are we doing, do you have contractors that you work with that you're going to give gifts to? Do you have clients? Do you have referral gifts? Do you have all these different things? Do you have partners? Okay. So just kind of understand, that's a whole nother call in itself, but just kind of trying to figure out and be curious about what is the opportunity here? And let's say you figured something out. You've got, some type of game plan down. And then the next thing is you want to have the conversation of, what does it look like today? So I like to do that by sharing a story. So when someone walks up, I'm talking to them, I'm doing my residential pitch first always at this type of event. You're trying to sell them stuff for their home. Somewhere in there, you ask the question, hey, by the way, what do you guys do for work? And they tell you. If it's early in the conversation and you're not done with your residential pitch yet, don't dive into it. Bank it, save it for later. Finish what you're doing. Don't confuse them. Don't show them a bunch of different stuff, right? Finish your residential pitch, towards the end of it, whether they're buying for themselves and you're adding on, or they don't buy anything, then you go, hey, earlier you said, you do this for a living, you build homes. Tell me what that looks like. Have that conversation. Oh yeah, we build houses. We're a custom home builder. We build like 10 to 12 homes a year. It's not, not that many, but okay, cool. So if you don't mind me asking, like, we work with a lot of builders. What's the average price on your home? Oh, 600 to 800,000. Oh, okay, cool. So those are nice homes. That's awesome. How long you been doing it? Build some rapport. Okay, cool. So, I'm just curious, you probably do this, but, do you ever give any type of appreciation gifts to like the people you sell the home to your clients, for like your favorite subcontractors, for, your favorite lender? Like, do you ever do anything to show love to those people? Right. Because they make your job easy. That's your business. See what they say. Most of the time in the home building industry, for example, they're going to say, yeah, we do XYZ. Sometimes they don't. Okay. I'm going to use it as if they do. Okay. So yeah, we do. Okay. What do you guys do? We do gift basket, gift card, steak dinner. We give them upgrades on their home, like free $4,000 towards your floors or whatever, that type of thing. Okay, cool. Well, can I tell you a little bit about Cutco's program? Because we actually have, one of the top gifting programs in North America, and we've been doing it for forever. Last year we did over 50 to $60 million worth of gifts. Can I tell you what that looks like and why so many people love it? Just ask permission, right? Because you don't want to just do a whole spiel if they're not even engaged. So I'm a big fan of permission questions. Ask them permission. Hey, can I show you what that looks like? Try to pique their interest to where they say, yeah, tell me about that. And then you can go into a full pitch. Hey, kind of how it works is, you do home building. So I use that as an example, Mr. Jones. But, a lot of business owners, they work hard all year. It's hard to find good people. It's harder to keep good people. Then you got subcontractors, and then in your business, a lender can make or break, right? Or you've got suppliers, and you've got, all these different people, and obviously your clients. These are people you would like to show love to, right? You want to create raving fans, and you can give them like the everyday stuff, gift baskets, gift cards, steak dinners, upgrades, that stuff. That's cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I applaud you for doing that. I think it's great that you're doing something. But the reason Cutco is such a good gift is because it's not a single use product. It's not a one and done. They never think about it anymore. Right. So let's think about it. If you give them a gift card, gift basket, they're going to use it and they're going to love it and appreciate it that night. But then after that, they're not anymore. You give them a Cutco knife. I mean, you've got Cutco, or you've seen the Cutco here today. What do you think about them? Yeah, exactly. They're awesome. So when you give these as a gift, one, they're expensive. So it's going to land, it's going to be an impact. So it's a quality gift. They're really going to enjoy it, and they're going to use it over 300 times a year, not one time a year, right? So you're going to get over 300 impressions a year on this gift. So your money's working for you. They're going to love it. They're going to rave about it. And then what does that do for you? Well, your logo's on here. So 100% tax deductible first and foremost, but then on the back end, they're using it 300 times a year. Think about what that does. The person you gave it to, they're not going to forget who it is. They're like, oh yeah, like, this company literally gave me the best knife in my kitchen. It's awesome. On the flip side, we've got holidays. You got Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those like the main three. And then we've got all these other holidays. And then here in the South, football is huge. Every Saturday, people are getting together for football. And then you got up north, it's NFL. So people are gathering constantly, Mr. Jones. You don't have time to be at all the gatherings. Cutco does. You put Cutco in the home, when people gather, they eat, which means they're going to use their knives, which means at some point, all the friends and family are going to see your logo and it's going to be a topic of conversation. Oh, why is there a logo on that knife there? Like, that's a Cutco knife, right? Boom. Now you're being talked about. You're in rooms that you don't have time to be in, and you get referrals and you're top of mind. And when someone is ready, you get business. So it creates a ripple effect on the back end, and they'll have it for years and years and years, and you'll get a ton of referrals on it. So, some of my customers, what they do is they meet, and this is a story that's starting, guys. So pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Some of my customers, Mr. Jones, just so like, I have people that I meet at a show or a fair just like this, They hear about it for the first time and they're like, this sounds great, but they're like, man, I didn't come here expecting to spend all this money on some gifts, and I just wasn't expecting to do this today. You probably don't have your list with you. You don't even know who you give them to, right? And they're like, yeah. So I'm acknowledging an objection that's going to come up, and I'm popping the fear bubble, and I go, yeah, exactly. Like, nobody comes here expecting to do this. Can I tell you why people do it? Like, my best clients, they do it here at the fair. One, we've got fair specials. It's the best deals we're going to do year round. So we're here in person. We can get something done and get it hooked up. We're trying to break our record. So, I'm allowed to do better deals than normal. But two, we can exchange info if you want. We can go back and forth with each other for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, emails, phone call, text, play phone tag, to maybe, never get anything done, or we wait last minute and then you don't have them in time. What we could do is we have this thing called the pilot program, where we can do it at an event and it doesn't take a lot of time. It takes like 2, 3 minutes. We just pick out, hey, what would I like to start with? How many gifts would I for sure know I would use? Even if you don't know exactly who you'd give them to yet, you'd use, an X amount of gifts. Like, I had someone start with like 25 gifts one time because they said, hey, I probably need like 30 or 40, but 25 for sure I'll know I'll use. Right. So that's what we started with. I don't even need your logo today. You can text or email it to me in the next couple of days when you get a chance. We just need to get the order started. Pay attention to that, guys. We just need to get the order started. Now, I use branding tools. I know not everybody's a CGC and has access to that, but still, if you're entering a business gift order, you can enter everything and enter just a picture of something, and you can update the logo on the back end. Right? You can put in the special instructions, need to send actual logo, and then it'll process on the spot and you get it later. If you're doing order forms, that doesn't matter. You can just get the logo later anyways. Okay. That's important. We want to take the complicated part out of it for them, to where it's super easy for them to give you the credit card. We don't want them to have to worry about the list, how many, like an exact number. We don't want them to have to worry about, I don't have my logo today, this and that. Like, we're not worried about that. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for them to make a decision a day on a handful of gifts. And a handful could be 100, it could be 10, it could be 5, whatever, whatever they're comfortable with. So then at that point, guys, back to my pitch, I go, hey, yeah, it's like somebody started with 25, because that's what they were comfortable with. So just so I know, if you were to start on our program, if you took advantage of the pilot program and started with gifts that for sure you'd give out, what would that number be? Like, how many gifts do no matter what, you'd give these out? See what they say. Figure out price point. Show them like 2 to 3 options in the price point. Don't show them a bunch. 2 to 3 options so they're not confused. And then say, hey, just so you know, because you're a business owner, what we could do for you is, because we're at the fair, you weren't expecting to spend all this money. You can totally just rip the Band-Aid off and pay it in full if you want. Like, I'm cool with that. But for our business owners, what we like to do is we can do a 6-month plan where we just take the first payment today. We'll go ahead and get everything set up, get your account set up on the back end the next couple of days, get your logo, all that good stuff. And then we charge you each month for 5 more months after that. So you can spread it out so your cash flow matches up better. So like I said, you can pay in full if you want, but we can do it to where you're not really spending that much on a monthly basis, and then the cash flow matches up better. So if you did do it, would you pay in full, or do you like the idea of just spreading it out? There's no interest or anything. It's not going to your credit. It's just the same as cash. See what they say. Most of the time they're like, yeah, let's just spread it out. That makes sense. You go, okay, cool. Let's do it. Right. So like, the way that I'm guiding them is like, I'm at a big funnel with the question, the top of the funnel is the question of, hey, what do you do for work? And then you're narrowing it down and you're guiding them. It's like you're bowling and there's bumpers, right? The bumpers are the questions, and you're guiding them through the pitch. And by the time you get to the end, they're knocking some pins out and getting some gifts. Right. That's the general idea. Now, I know there's going to be lots of questions, some technical stuff on that. So we've got about 10 minutes for Q&A, but that's the general idea of the pitch, guys. You want to make sure, one, you're asking the question to everybody and understand that they're in front of you. Right. 2, do the general pitch. Know what the general pitch is. Know what, like, after they say they own a business, don't go blank. Do some research before the fair gets here and figure out, hey, what's like the next thing I should ask? And you can use obviously this talk, listen to it back and forth and figure out like where does he go next. And then the last thing is make it really easy for them to buy then and there. Okay. Now, if they say that they want to get, hey, I want to start with 100 gifts, obviously you're going to get excited about that. Great. Like it's our pilot program. Like I said, we get started today, whatever. I always tell people if they're like, well, what if we get like 3? I go, hey, well, our minimum's 10. I'm not hard pressed on that, but I say our minimum's 10 because the price sheet starts at a 10 plus quantity. So that's a sales tool I use. I see what their reaction is. If they're not most of the time they're like, oh, okay, cool, we'll just do 10. But if they're not immediately like, yeah, we'll just do that, then they're like, well, that might be a deal breaker. Then I become their best friend and I say, hey, Miss Jones, just so you know, we normally don't do less than 10 because that's, as you can see, that's where the price sheet starts. But on our pilot program, what I'll do since we're here at the fair today, if you can just get started with 5 gifts, we'll make it happen. Right. Like I'll make it be 5. I'll make 5 work. We'll honor the 10 quantity price and we'll hook it up. Is that fair? And then most of the time they're like, oh my God, you do that? I can start with 5. Because a lot of time business owners, they think differently, guys, and they're approached differently and pitched differently. A lot of times they can't buy stuff in onesies and twosies if it's personalized like that with a logo, like there's a quantity. Like Nick bought these hats and he got, I don't know how many he bought, but like there's a quantity you have to order. You could order one, but it's it's expensive as shit. Right. So you have to understand that they think a little bit differently. Okay. All right. That's my message. I wanted to leave some time for Q&A because I know there's going to be some. So let's go from there.
Awesome. Great message, Phil. Let's give Philip a hand, guys. Give him a hand. Awesome job. I had a lot of takeaways too, and even being in the coaching group with you, I still had a lot of takeaways. One of the takeaways I had is what do you do? Always asking everyone, literally everyone, what do you do for work? What do you do for a living? Do you run a business? Do you give to clients or employees? Asking that to everyone, literally. And then another takeaway was just understanding the supply chain. I never heard that verbiage before. Knowing where the money's going, who you guys give tips to, and are we talking to the actual decision maker? That's really important as well. And it's really cool to hear that story about that 1.9 order and then turn it to a 13K order. That's pretty nuts, man. So great message, Philip. We have time for 2 questions, so we'll take 2 questions and then we'll move on to our next speaker. Go ahead, who wants to ask the first question?
I'll go. Thanks, Philip. Was wondering if you could re-say what you do when you're like, do you mind if I tell you why to get them here or why people are getting them here? And then re-explain how you explain the pilot program.
Yeah, for sure. So, so most people don't come to the fair expecting to spend and get like gifts for their business. You're here like hanging out, right? It's like a personal thing. You don't even think about business, right? You don't have your list with you. You don't have this. You don't have that. So, the reason that people get stuff here at the fair, I'm assuming I've already asked. They're like, yeah, tell me. The reason people get stuff here at the fair, get their gifts here at the fair, is because we have this thing called the pilot program. So we don't need to like sit down and hash out a bunch of details. This is going to take like 2 to 3 minutes. I'll set up your account. We'll get you a handful of gifts, get you some gifts to get started. Right. We'll get your logo in a couple days. I don't even need that now. We don't need your list, anything like that. All I need is, hey, I like this gift. Let's go ahead and start with this many. I need the first payment, and then everything else will happen over the next few days. Okay. And I can get that handled on the back end. So at that point, you've explained it to them. Hey, this is really easy. I need this many, this gift, this many, the first payment. That's it. There's 3 steps to it. So it's super simple. Everything else we'll handle over the next couple of days. If you want to add to the gifts, if you're like, hey, I only want to start with whatever they said, 20, but then you're like, hey, I need 5 more, we can easily add them and I'll just honor the price. Okay. That's where I go from there.
All right. We have one more question. I think Nick has his hand up. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, appreciate it, Philip. I just had a quick question. You said to, simplify the options and only show them like 2 to 3 options. Do you have like 2 to 3 gifting options that you go to? And then what does your display look like? Are you only displaying like 3 gift options? Do you have like 10 out, but you say these are 3 most popular? How do you kind of pitch that to each client?
My favorite 3-tier option to pitch is there's 2 in the first tier. It's going to be the just a Santoku by itself, and then a Santoku trimmer, and then there's going to be a spreader. So I'll try to have those 3. So you got a higher quality tier 1 gift, and you got the 2 basically $100 tier 1 gifts. Tier 2, I'm going to show something with the shears. So shear and trimmer, shear and spreader, doesn't matter, whichever one you guys have. Show one of those options. The shears is what sells it. And then option number 2 is going to be a Cook's combo, petite or regular Cook's combo. And then the 3rd tier option is I've got 2 options there that I really stick to. The first one, I forget what it's called, but they just came out with this. It's the shears and the petite Santoku in a gift set. It's almost $300. And then the other option is going to be the Santoku Kitchen Classics. Those 7 gifts, I would say, and I'm not counting like outdoor stuff. That's a different thing. But just for like the kitchen knives, those are the ones that I would say I sell the most of. If they don't like them, I've got my iPad that I can pull up. I've got the whole catalog, business gift catalog on it, so I can always pivot. But those are the ones I always show first. And most of the time I'm selling those, because you don't want to confuse them, because if they're confused, people don't buy, So my setup, it depends on what like how much booth space I have, which I don't know how much space I'm going to have at Wisconsin. But typically I have on my right or left within arm's reach, I have an entire 18 inches roughly from like front of the table to the back of the table is only business gifts. And it's tiered up with the business gift banner in the back because they can see it. And it's usually stacked up on a couple of empty gift boxes to elevate it. And then I've got a gift set that's elevated, another gift set that's elevated, and then a gift set that's flat on the table. That's typically what I have. So it's like right there, it's in their face, it's in my face, and I don't forget to pitch it, and I can get my hands on it easily. Then I'll have a couple like littered on the table here and there.
Appreciate it, Philip.
All right, sounds good. Great question, Nick. Thank you, Philip, for that wonderful message. That was awesome. We're gonna move on to our next speaker, and I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Nick Snider, who's going to be talking to us about price positioning. I want to tell you a little bit about Nick. He's our fearless leader. I really want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'm really grateful to be able to learn from you and many different things. So I'm excited to help you grow, to help grow our team, our state fair team as well, and become one of the best teams in the nation, and it's all said and done. And one thing I love about Nick is his growth mindset. He's all about growth. He's always focused on growth for his own business and the events team as well. And he's always, another thing I love is he's always empowering others to be leaders, including myself, and getting others out of their comfort zone. So for me, like, I never thought to be an MC for a state fair call, but here I am because of Nick. Being able to be in charge of the recruiting aspect of our team, and also bringing in guest speakers as well. Some highlights for Nick is he's at $2.3 million in career sales. His career highlight is winning the race in 2017 and continuing to coordinate 7 divisions. And his top year-to-date highlight is he had his best day in the booth this year. On April 15th, he sold $12,331 at the booth in one day. And he also sold 3 Tesco kitchens in this last calendar year. And fun fact, Nick, you're gonna love this. He loves beer. He loves his beer. He's had over 2,000 beers in the last 6 years. Jeez Louise, man. Oh my gosh, pull it down a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have a spotted cow right to next year at your desk. Do that spotted cow, Nick. I'm just kidding. Here to talk about price positioning, Nick Snider.
Appreciate it, Lucky. Well, yeah. So definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I've tried 5,000 beers. Haven't drank 5,000 full beers in the last 6 years, but yeah, craft beer is great. But anyway, so yeah, here to talk to you guys about price positioning. And really, the reason why I wanted to talk about price positioning is I've just noticed that this is like a huge opportunity for really sales reps in the company, and it's just having more awareness around it. We all know how to price position. Obviously, you're not on this call if you don't know how to, but just being more intentional about how we price position can really help make it easy to comprehend, to your customer, like what is important to them, and like it's like very cheap to buy Cutco. It's very inexpensive to buy Cutco. So, what is price positioning? Price positioning is the strategic pricing of a product or a company within a product group, or within a market. And the aim of price positioning is to create a price management or a pricing management that, according to the customer awareness, is positioned differently from the competition. So, in simple terms, what does that mean? We are basically trying to make it simple in the customer's mind, what it costs to buy a certain product, right? So some price positioning strategies that we actually use currently, and we use throughout that we've used, throughout the last few decades. The first main one, I got this from Forbes, from an article written by Ashley Dealand. But the first is competitive pricing. So what is competitive pricing? Competitive pricing means you're considering the prices of similar products or services from competitors and using it to determine your product's price. There are a few different pricing strategies. So the first one is cooperative pricing. This matches the prices of competitors down to the dollar to maintain the status quo. So this is basically what gas stations use. And I was kind of thinking about how Cutco used these different strategies, and this is how Cutco used to be priced when it first opened. Like in the 40s, this is how they sold Cutco. It's like, oh yeah, it's a little more expensive, but it's similar to what you'd buy at like Williams-Sonoma or a high-end kitchen store, right? It was like $90 back then. Then there's aggressive pricing. This strategy involves keeping a price distance between yourself and your competitors, regardless of what your competitors do. Your prices remain the same or really go lower. So this is kind of how we price Cutco prior to the last price increase this year. Comparing it to Wusthof or Shinkaji, it's like, oh yeah, we're just like them, but our price is lower, right? And then there's dismissive pricing. Leaders in the market with premium products or services are in a position to use dismissive pricing. This strategy allows brands to price as they wish without considering the competitors' prices. So this is something that like Rolex does or Louis Vuitton. You can ask Calvin about Louis, right? How an experience is about all that stuff, right? So this is the way that Cutco is starting to be positioned, at events. It's like, I don't even compare to Wusthof or Shinkaji because we're almost the same price now, right? So, and really nobody really compares to Cutco at this point, right? We're a premium product in the marketplace. Another strategy is value-based pricing, and this is something that we use religiously. So value-based pricing relies on perceived value to the customer. Typically, this strategy has a higher profit margin. Obviously, we make a pretty solid profit, right? And aligns with the customer's perspective. If the price isn't ideal, it can be adjusted to better suit the market. And this is typically what we use when we're dealing with a customer. It's what the value of Cutco is and why they should buy, right? And then the third strategy that I did some research on, it came from Cornell University. But this it's called skim. So skimming, what it is this strategy clearly positions your company above the rest. It tells consumers something is special, worth paying for about your products. For example, like if you go to a steakhouse and it's like, oh, we can smell the fried onions and seared aged prime meat already. Like when you walk in the door, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, why would you pay $190 for a cut of meat? It's because you can experience all these things when you're eating at a restaurant. You can imagine just how like the chefs are dressed in the kitchen in their pristine white jackets, right? And yeah, you can go to the store and buy a steak for $14.99, but we're going to go to this place because we get to experience this, right? And people will pay that. We're painting the picture of what value Cutco brings and why people will pay for it, right? So why do we price position? Why do we do it? It's really just to bring awareness to the customer about what we were speaking about, right? So something that a mentor, told me about 5 years ago, and this is like the number one thing. I don't know why, but this is the number one thing that I remember. I did like a 2-year coaching program, and this is the one thing that I remember on a group coaching call. Obviously, the events that were put on were great, but for a coaching call, I remember him saying, "Customers are like brainless lizards. Okay, they need to be told how to think." So price positioning tells the customers how they should be thinking about our products compared to the rest of the marketplace. That is why we price position. So obviously you're like, oh, cool, Nick, thanks for all this research. This is great. How does this even relate to me? Well, these are some different lines that you can use to help price position and kind of explain to your customer how they should be thinking about Cutco. So ways that you can price position the knives. So like knives and knives. There's really 2 easy ways, and most people already know how to do these things, but it's a good refresher. Obviously, you can do a price comparison of Wusthof or Schoon, right? And that's a good way to make it aware to your customer what expensive knives could cost. And then the second option is, which I currently use with every single client, is I just price compared to a Cutco kitchen. So something that I say is this is what you could buy with Cutco, Mrs. Jones. Obviously, you got a full flatware set, full knife set, cookware, and all the accessories. The normal price is this. The package price is like 11 grand. It's like an extra mortgage for 5 months, and you never have to worry about anything for the kitchen ever again. Sounds great, right? And it's like most people are going to sit there and laugh at you, right? Something that Brian Carter said on a State Fair call recently said 95% of people will laugh at the Cutco kitchen price, and 5% will think you're serious, right? So those 5%, those are the people that you're pitching bundles to then, right? But 95% of the people laugh, but it's a good way because once they see the Cutco kitchen price of 11 grand or $14,000, and then you show them an ultimate for 3,500, it's like, oh my gosh, the set of knives really isn't that bad. Or when you go all the way down to a homemaker, that's 1,500. It's like 10% of what a kitchen costs, right? 1,549. Oh, that's $310. That's nothing. That's lower than my car payment. Some ways to price compare knives to cookware. So cookware is very expensive compared to the knives, but when price positioned well, it's really easy to overcome that hurdle. Like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, $6,000. The knives only cost $1,500, or I only paid this much for my knives. Well, a really good way to handle that is, hey, Mrs. Jones, you know how expensive the knives are, right? Well, look at this cleaver. It's $250 now. Look at the size difference between this and the wok. See how much more metal there is in the wok compared to the cleaver? Now just imagine how expensive the cookware could be. Right? This is $250. I can't even imagine what the wok costs, because how much metal is in that thing. Obviously with cookware you can always use a price comparison too, but most people aren't buying really expensive cookware. So it's a lot easier to compare it off a high quality product that they're, maybe used to, or maybe just, learned about, that being the knives, right? So I personally don't use a price comparison, but again, just price comparing off of the cleaver is a great way to do that. Flatware can be positioned off like the old discount package pricing. So we have a corporate discount price right now. They actually took it away in 2020 and 2021. But they brought it back in 2022 and this year, and we do not know how long the discount will be around. It's literally an additional $600 off the old discount pricing. So if you don't already have the Vast Action sell sheets, you should buy them like today. You should send Amy an email. But there's actually a sell sheet that has what the discount was if it was like individual pricing. So like the full flatware set is like $2,600 discounted, and it retails for $2,800. That is what we could sell a flatware set for in 2020, and I'm pretty sure most of 2021 before they came back out with the flatware, right? And then in 2022 or 2023, now we can, they brought it back, that discount pricing. So now it's only like $2,000 for everything, or 17, whatever you're selling. So use that to your advantage, because the reality is we don't know we don't know the day there's going to be a day where it does happen, where Cutco says, hey, we're taking on our next price increase. We've decided not to do the flatware discount pricing because we're selling enough of it now and we paid for all the machinery. So we're going to start selling it for this instead. And we're still going to sell it. So it's important to make that known to your client, like, hey, we actually physically don't know when this discount's going away, but we have it now. So now's definitely the time to get it. Some other ways that you can, some other creative ways that you can really relate Cutco to your client and make it more aware of like what stuff costs. Hey, Mrs. Jones, how much did your husband spend on his golf clubs? And how often does he use them? Just so you guys know, the average price for a set of golf clubs is $1,200. Unless they're like, golfing with like garbage from a rummage sale, right? It's like $1,200 for just a set of golf clubs. So if both of them have a set of golf clubs, that's $2,400 on two sets of golf clubs, or a set for, husband and wife, or, two people. And they're using them 1 to 3 times per week in the summer months, and only on a warm vacation in the winter months, right? Knives are using every day. So it's like they're going to go spend $2,400 on tools to golf, which is, chase a little white ball around. I don't golf, but I used to. But I know some people golf. I know there are some big golfers in this group. But yeah, it's $2,400 just for a set of golf clubs, and they're only using it a few times. And it, obviously golf's great, but you're not using the tools every single day. Another way is, how many tools do you have in your garage? If you're a mechanic, it's anywhere from $7,000 to $11,000 in tools on average. But it says that I found online that a mechanic could spend anywhere up to $27,000 on tools, like a hammer, wrench, screwdrivers. If you have like a full-on nice set, it's like $7,000. Normal family can spend anywhere from $500 to $5,000, right? And tools you're only using when something's broke, right? You're not using it all the time. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, how much did you spend on a lawnmower? Most people mow their lawn once a week, unless they're in a drought like we are. I don't know about the rest of the country, but we're in a drought. So everyone's complaining about not being able to mow their lawn. It's like, oh, that must be nice. It's brown, but at least you don't have to mow your lawn, right? And then you have to pay to get it serviced once a year. Cutco is free to get service, and you'll be using the Cutco even when it's snowing out, right? The average cost for a riding lawnmower is $2,500 to $5,000. $5,000 if you want like a nice one, like the nice zero turn and everything, going around your 0.2 acre lot and your little zero turn in about 3 seconds. But yeah, it's about $2,500 to $5,000, and they're only using it once a week. Mrs. Jones, do you have a streaming service? The cost of streaming your favorite TV show on Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, and HBO is the same as the cost of a 5-piece on a 5-pay. Streaming all these things is getting expensive. The prices continue to go up. To say you don't spend $100 on streaming services, you're cutting out something, or you don't watch TV, in my opinion. We're spending like $100 a month now. And the thing about streaming, though, is you have to pay for 12 months out of the year, and you have to continue to pay for it, and then they're going to up the price, right? Cutco, you pay for 5 months, and then you get those 5 pieces for the rest of your life. Imagine if you could pay for unlimited streaming for $100 a month for 5 months, and then never had to pay for it again. You just got TV shows for free. Be amazing, wouldn't it? This is something I learned back in the day as a new rep, but imagine if you pulled up to a gas pump and the gas station said, hey, the cost for the gas is $1,500. You go inside and you ask why on earth your gas costs $1,500. And the clerk says, you got our forever gas. You filled up once, but you never have to buy gas for the rest of your life, forever. You're good for a lifetime, and you will never run out of gas. It'd be worth every penny. I'd pay that hands down any day, right? So get creative when you're price positioning. There's so many different ways that you can make your customer aware about pricing. If somebody says it's expensive, they just don't know what good things cost. So it's your job to paint the picture of what it costs, right? Imagine if your streaming service was you only pay 5 months, and you never had to pay for it again. Imagine if your lawnmower, you never had to service it, and you used every single day, even when it's snowing out. Maybe your lawnmower is maybe it shoveled your driveway for you, right? Or something like that, right? There's so many different ways to paint the picture, and it's like, and just make it aware of like, oh yeah, this is what you're already spending. You already spend this money every single year, every single day, every single week, every single month. You're already spending this money. You should just spend it on our product because it's going to make your life easier in the kitchen, right? So yeah, you can really price position off anything. Price positioning brings awareness to your customers so you can comprehend what the product costs. Be strategic when pricing out Cutco to clients, and make sure to use these examples when handling objections too. Bringing to light what kind of value Cutco can bring to your customers compared to where they currently spend their money will help you close more orders, more sets, and more bundles. So that's what I got for you guys. Hope you learned something. And we do have some time for some questions if anyone's got some questions for me.
Phenomenal message, Nick, on price positioning. Let's give him a hand. Awesome job, Nick. I took a lot from that from the message because one of the things I need to improve on is price positioning. Talking about how Cutco is a premium product in the marketplace, and we're like the Rolex of knives. Using those analogies as well too, and then also talking about another price comparison tip is Wusthof or Sean, or comparing it to the Cutco kitchen, and using the verbiage that he said to make it make sense. And it's on us to paint the picture for the customer and make it make sense for the customer as well too. So that was some really good key nuggets as well. And we'll take a couple questions here. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a couple questions.
Yeah, I have a question. When you're price positioning, are you doing this before you ask for any order? Are you kind of gauging customer to customer? Is this when they say no thank you the first time? When are you usually positioning your price?
Yeah, it really depends on the situation. Something that the first price position that I do with every single customer is the Cutco kitchen. So I explain all the knife sets and everything, cut through leather, guarantee, all that stuff. And then right before closing, it's like, oh, you're probably wondering how much this stuff costs, right? And it's like, yeah, cool. The first thing I do is I flip open to my Cutco kitchen page and I say, hey, so this is our Cutco kitchen package. You get the full knife set, flatware, pots and pans, all the accessories. This is the retail price. And this is the package price today. So it's like an extra mortgage payment for 5 months, and you never have to worry about anything for the kitchen ever again. Sounds great, right? And then the reason why I do that is because, one, I'm showing the first price they're seeing is $14,000. So that's what they're now expecting moving forward, right? Okay, this stuff's expensive. The second reason why I do that is because I'm also qualifying the customer. So it's like, okay, so like I said, Brian Carter said, 95% of people are going to think you're hilarious, right? They're going to think it's a joke. And then the other 5% are going to think you're serious. So for that, I'm looking for that 5%, right? So yeah, most people are going to laugh, whatever, drop down the knife sets. But then there's going to be that one person where they're going to be looking at you and they're going to be like crunching numbers in their head to see if they can afford it. And it's like, okay, this is a Cutco kitchen client. And then at that point, then I ask okay, so just curious, are you guys mainly just looking for knives today? Or would it be nice to replace your pots and pans and your knives, or pots and pans and flatware, or all three? It'd be nice if we just, could get cookware and cookware and knives today. Oh, great. Drop down to a bundle. All right. So that's the main reason to price position there, is to qualify that client, and then also, show them the 14 or 18 or 20,000, whatever package you have. I know there's some that are like $20,000. That's great too. But that is the reason why I do that. Now for those other things, imagine, if you're like dealing with a client that's like really standoffish, like, oh, this stuff is so expensive, right? then it's like that's where you can bring in like some of these other creative ways, like, oh yeah, how much do you spend on golf clubs? How much does your lawnmower cost? How much does your tools in the garage cost? All those things. Like, yeah, you're not piling it all on one customer, but it's like find one that they can relate to. It's like, oh, Mrs. Jones, do you golf? Oh, hey, do you guys have tools in the garage? Oh, do you guys watch TV? And then that's where you can use that. It's like, oh yeah, imagine it like that's what Cutco is. If you were able to, like the lawnmower example, it's like, oh yeah, you spent $2,500 and you use it once a week. Imagine if you spent $1,500 and you never had to get anything serviced ever, and it just worked forever. It's like that's where you can use some of those other examples. Does that kind of help, Abs?
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, we got time for 2 more questions. Anyone wants to ask a question? We got time for 2 more questions.
I have a question.
Go for it.
I know you're talking about price positioning on just like the products in general, but how are you price positioning your deals? I think that's a big thing too.
Yeah, so like I guess what do you mean by deals? Like the package pricing or
We know it's like it could be a runaway train when you're given a deal to close something.
yeah.
And I mean, I could just say it. So when I'm given deals, I like to say up front, hey, just so you know, this is the Cutco price. Anything that I do extra is me doing for you. That's like a Philip thing. So I'm hooking you up, just so you know, that comes off me. Okay. But I'm totally willing to do that because I want to earn your business today and I want to be your Cutco guy. So if you guys are open to it, I can offer you some kind of deal like that, and just setting the tone for that off the front end. With you just a second. Setting the tone for that on the front end so you don't have to worry about that later.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So something that I say for that, it's pretty similar, Philip, but it's like, so like, let's say if I'm doing like a super crazy, ridiculous deal or something a little extra special, something like that. It's like, hey, just so you know, Mrs. Jones, I crunch my number, and then before I give him the price, I say, hey, just so you know, like, this is coming directly out of my commission, so I'm actually personally paying for it. But I'm happy to do that to earn your business and your trust. And, obviously I'm going to be your Cutco guy forever. So it's like, if you ever need service, gifts or anything, I'm going to be able to help you moving forward. But, this is like literally the cheapest that I can offer it. So like, that's something I also do too. So after I show them the price is like, okay, so, hey, maybe I'm taking $100 off on a homemaker or something like that. This is the special, throwing a couple free items. And then just so you know, this is literally the cheapest I can sell it for. So if you're like, hey, Nick, I want $1 off, I literally have to tell you no, because this is literally the cheapest that Cutco will allow me to sell it for. So this is literally the best deal you'll ever see ever again. So it's something I also do too.
All right, great question, Philip. We have time for one more question. If anyone wants to ask. Anybody? All right, I guess we'll move on to our next speaker. Great message, Nick. Our next speaker, I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Kevin Marr. I like to call him K Marr. Kevin Marr. He's going to be talking about closing on every order. I absolutely love working with Kevin. It's always fun when I work with you, Kevin. It's always a fun time. And I can really relate to this topic. This is a great message for Kevin to speak on because he literally lets no one walk. He like gets the customer bought into something at least. What I love about Kevin is he's hilarious. Always gives me a good laugh. Always has to say some funny comments. I always have to laugh very loud. And what I also love about Kevin is he loves sports. He just roots for the wrong team, which is the Packers, and we all know they suck. Yeah, I love those things about Kevin, and I just love Kevin's hard work and his determination as well too. And some highlights about Kevin is his career sales highlight is at $1.6 million in career sales. His top career highlight is selling 100K last year in August, which was awesome. And the year-to-date highlight this year is he had his second biggest week of his career at North Wisconsin State Fair last week. He sold 27K on 35 orders, and he consistently averages 10 to 15 orders a day at Wisconsin State Fair. A fun fact about Kevin, he loves the Milwaukee Bucks. That's one. 2, he loves to golf, and he once had a double eagle in golf, which you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning. He wrote that, not me. So here to talk about closing on every order, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Marr.
All right. Thank you, Lucky. Can you hear me okay, Lucky? Give me the thumbs up.
You're
All
good.
right, sweet. All right, awesome. So I'm in my car right now. I am setting up for a show here shortly. So excited to share the goods with you guys. Yeah, I'm super excited for this fair season and just all the content and value we've been getting. I feel like it's really been helping me out. And I just had, like Lucky said, came off one of my best fairs I've ever had and was closing almost every single time. So I felt fitting to kind of share on this. So I'm just going to kind of share like a little bit about the mindset of, how to be ready to close. And just some quick tips to start off with. And then I'll share with you kind of like a couple strategies that you can use to close and not have people walk and get them at least something today. So as far as mindset, I always try to go into every single fair shift with an order goal for the day. And so one thing that a lot of times for me, like I truly believe like the work is done in my mind before the show even starts. And so like I make sure to, have a really good morning routine and meditate. And then also like I use the 5-minute journal and the 5-minute journal apps. So if you don't have that, you should download it. But one of the things in there says basically like, today will be great when, blank. And then basically I just kind of, I have my order goal in there for the day. And I kind of break it down like over the fair of like, okay, cool. I want to do 50K for state fair. I'm working 10 days. My average order size is $500. So I need to get 10 orders a day. So I truly believe like the universe will conspire to help you hit that goal and help you close those orders if you just have it in mind. Another tip, just the more shots you take, the more orders you're going to close. You have to have the courage to pull people in and just ask them, a quick question of, hey, can I take 2 minutes to just show you? Can I tempt you? Can you just give me 60 seconds? Because basically I had a situation at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair where this lady was almost like she was down at the next booth and her son had just bought a set of Cutco. And she was like looking back over and she was like, man, I could really use some knives. And I was like, can I just take 2 minutes to just show you Cutco real quick? And she's like, all right, you got 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden homemaker +8. And then we added on a galley +6 for her. They had 2 homes. So it's just like that one simple question. Can I just take 2 minutes? Basically just the mindset, like a scarcity mindset is what if I waste my turn? An abundance mindset is what if they're my best customer of the day? So there's going to be so many freaking people at State Fair that it's like the mindset is just how many shots can I take? And you'll close more orders that way versus, saying, let me just save up my turn. Let me just save it. So another tip just like on that is just get off your phone. So you can't be ready for those big opportunities when you're on your phone messing around, especially when it's your turn. You should never ever be looking at your phone. And I would argue that even when it's not your turn, for the benefit of the team, we should all be paying attention to what's going on and people's body language and what they're saying. so that we could kind of pull people in, because you might be on the right side of the booth and the person all the way to the left murmurs like, man, we could really use some good knives. But if you're not paying attention to say, hey, can I just take 2 minutes to tell you a little bit about it, and then you hand them off to Nick or somebody else, and then it's closer to your turn too, closer to close another order. Also, just understand that every single person you speak to is going to tell you, I need to think about it. So I would say like 90% of the time, that's what's going to happen. I used to get really frustrated with this. But when I have my best events, it's like, I'm not surprised by that. So it's just basically being like calm, cool, and collected when that happens. And realizing every person's going to say that. Even your past customers who come up to the booth and you're like, sweet, past customer, this should be easy. Show them the upgrade. They're like, this is great, Kevin. We need to think about it. And you're like, what the heck? You literally have bought from me 4 times. So I'm going to give you a couple a way to help with that in a little bit here. Be unattached to the result so you can serve the customer. So when you're basically, what I mean by that is like, letting the customer know that, hey, this order is not going to make or break my year or my fair, but I really want to help you out because you had let me know that you definitely need some new knives. This would really help you out in the kitchen. You're struggling in the kitchen. You guys were complaining about your knives. So I want to do this for you guys. So those are a couple of quick tips. One of the things that I've learned from Brandon Brown, who I coach with right now, is just painting the picture of them owning Cutco. So after you're kind of like explaining after you're done with your demo, after you showed the price, basically what helps me at this point is, so you show them the price and now they're thinking about, holy, they're thinking whatever, like this is a lot of money or blah, blah, blah. But you want to give them some value here and just say basically imagine how nice it's going to be to go home, take all of your other knives, throw them away, take them to Goodwill, give them to one of your kids, and just have one good set for the rest of your life. It's all American made. It's guaranteed forever. You're never going to need to buy knives ever again. I'm going to sharpen them for you for free. We're going to fix them and replace them for you for free. You guys are going to love it. Do you guys like the classic or the pearl? Do you like the cherry or the honey? Would you split it up? Would you pay for it in full? I think kind of painting this picture in their mind really helps them to be, help them say yes right now without objections. But, obviously those are going to happen sometimes as well. And then make sure you build value in yourself. So what helps, like, why would they buy Cutco here at the fair from you, when they could just buy it online or get it at a different time? And so I think it really helps to let them know, like, hey, just a reminder, I almost forgot the best part is you get me with the set. So I'm worth the $3,000 alone. I'll have a little laugh with them and just let them know, like, hey, when you need your knife sharpened, like say 3 to 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever, I'm going to take care of it for you. When you need a gift for your kids, I'm going to get you a nice price on it. I'm going to be here for you every step along the way. A nice soft close, kind of during that process that I learned from Brandon is there anything else you guys would want to add to the order today? So basically, after you kind of like, another thing that I do after I say the price is I just kind of review what they're getting. So cool. The signature set right here, it's 25, whatever, 26, 25, split it up, it's 526. And here's what you get. You guys get all the basic pieces. You get the 4 most customer requested pieces. You get the 10 bigger steak knives. You get the scissors, you get the block, you get me. So just kind of reviewing what they're getting. Also, like with an upgrade, it's like, cool, you re-explain what you just explained to them. People need to hear what they're getting multiple times, or at least once after they hear the price. So you're stacking the value. So higher the value, the easier it is for them to just say yes right now. I think so. The biggest thing that I want to like instill in you guys, and that I've realized that has really helped me out at the last fair, that I don't think I was doing earlier in the year as much, because I thought I was too good for it. I thought I don't need to do this. Is the stall close. So, like I said earlier, everyone is going to say, regardless of the package, they're going to say, I need to think about it. So, and here's what you're going to do in that process when that happens. So this is going to sound like a lot of questions, but it should really only take about 60 seconds. So customer says, I need to think about it. Great. Let me write this down for you, so you have something to hang on to while you think about it. And then just a couple quick questions to make sure we're on the same page. If you were to get Cutco today, would this be the set? Or would you go bigger, smaller? Would this be the package? Or would you go bigger, smaller? I would say like 90% of the time, if you did, a good job of reading them, you're probably on the right one. Would you do classic handles or the pearl handles? You might have already got this question answered during the close, so you might not need to ask it, but would you do the lighter honey stain block or the darker cherry stain block? Would you pay for it in full, or would you split it up? Now, just so I know, if you really wanted to, would this, whatever they say, if they say they pay in full or split it up, would this $500 fit in the budget if you really wanted to? Or would this be pushing the envelope? So again, would you pay for it in full, or would you split it up like most people do, since there's no interest? And then just so I know, if you really wanted to, would $500 fit in the budget today, or would that be pushing the envelope a little bit? If they say it would be pushing the envelope, you want to let them know, hey, real quick, before you go, do you mind if I show you a smaller option that might work better for you based on what you're telling me? So drop down slowly to like an 11 piece or a 5 piece based on kind of their reactions. And then, so say if I'm on a homemaker +8, I'm normally showing them like an 11 piece and a 5 piece. And then I'll ask them, like, now that you've seen both of the smaller options, if you were to get Cutco today, which of those options would you choose? And this is all before I'm like giving a deal. So if it fits in the budget, ask this question. So, okay, before you go, I always ask this. Susie, hopefully you got their name by this point, because it's kind of a fun question. I know you had no intention of coming into the fair to buy any knives today. I wish that was the case, but it's typically not the case. So on a scale of 1 to 10, shoot me straight. You're not going to hurt my feelings. 1 being like, no way. 10 being like, let's do it. Where would you be on that scale? If they're at a 7 or above, I would say the order should probably be closed. And if they say 7 or above, I would let them know, oh, okay, cool. So you're pretty close. Great. So when they've answered all the questions and they're on the right package, here's what you say at this point. So I know you guys didn't come to the fair expecting to spend money on knives today, but it sounds like this would be the perfect set for you. It sounds like you guys could really use some good knives at home. And it sounds like if you really wanted to, you guys could fit this in the budget. So since you're here right now and I'm here right now, I'm not saying you're not going to come back, but a lot of times the fair just gets super busy and people just don't get a chance to make it back. So I used to make a really big deal out of this like scenario in my mind, like you can't go because nobody ever comes back. And poor me. And it's just like, it's like a victim mindset, and customers can kind of like smell that. And so it's very low key. It's, hey, I'm not saying you're not going to come back, but a lot of times the fair gets super busy and people just don't get a chance to make it back. So since you're here right now and I'm here right now, if I could go out of my way and do something a little extra special for you to earn your business today on top of the built-in discount, would you just consider doing it right now? 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes. And then kind of how to frame the deal at that point is, Cutco sets the prices on these set. I'm a big fan of not really dropping price at all right now and just throwing in free stuff. So especially if they told me they can afford it, they told me it's, could fit in the budget, then there's no reason to drop the price. So Cutco sets the prices on these sets, so I can't do much on price. But what Cutco allows me to do is buy you items that you're eventually going to buy for yourself anyways down the road. So because we're at the state fair and this is our biggest event for the year, and I have a huge goal of selling $50,000 of Cutco for the fair, here's what I would be willing to do for you. So, just basically it's different in every scenario, but for the sets, we're going to get you all the cutting boards for free. I'm going to get you 3 gadgets. Great. So, by the way, a lot of this is regurgitated from, some of you probably have watched this, but on YouTube, Burt Wicks dropping down with spice. And I don't know who he stole it from, or but basically I would watch that like every single morning. It's like only, I don't know, like 10 minutes of it is relevant, or to get enough information. So I am just going to go through these last quick. Do I even have any time left? 2 minutes? Give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're good, Kev. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, and then just to wrap that up, if you can tell they're not excited about the free stuff, maybe drop the price a little bit. So it's like, okay, cool. I can tell you're not really excited about this stuff. So I'll tell you what, like I said, Cutco sets the price on the stuff. Can't do much, but anything I do comes on my check, which I'm happy to do, just to create a win-win situation for right now. So I'll take $100 off of the set. Tips on being efficient with past customers. So I would say, like, when the fair is super busy, the quicker your interactions are, the quicker you can get to another order. So be quick, but don't hurry. If you can tell, like, it's a customer, they're not really, they're more focused on pieces and just getting a few things. Like, they bought pieces all their entire life. They just want to get a few pieces, get out of there, get them in and out, move on to the next person. So have the awareness to know that, okay, this person has bought Cutco 10 times. They bought them 3 or 4 pieces at a time. Do your best, but get them those pieces and kind of move on to the next, this next person. Obviously try to upsell them. But I feel like, after you've tried to upsell, one or 2 times, like, there's not much, just move on. So another thing that I use to close past customers is the Hal Elrod close. So basically, what that looks like is, hey, past customers looking at an upgrade. So do you guys remember the last time you bought Cutco? Yes. Do you remember thinking, I can't believe we're spending this much money on knives? Yes. Was it worth it? Of course. So the next time people buy Cutco, they think the same thing. So, man, I can't believe we're spending another $2,000 on knives today. But then they get it, they love it, they use it all, they have it for the rest of their life. So you guys are going to feel the same way. So just helping remind them that, it's normal what they're feeling. A good question to ask people, past customers, have you ever once regretted your Cutco purchase? If it's just the wife there, maybe ask her, does your husband like the knives? Has he ever, have you guys, or does he use them too? Does he like them? Great. Okay. So you kind of like, basically letting her know like he would probably be on board with this too, at least you guys getting something today. If you can tell the customer is not feeling the upgrade, like past customer, just focus on the 5-piece with the block and you can always upsell them later. You'll know if they're interested, if they're nodding their head or they're answering yes to their questions about the pieces. Like, hey, do you guys trim the fat off of meats? Do you guys cut raw meat sometimes? Yes. Okay. Do you guys do watermelon? They're kind of like answering your questions. They're nodding their head. They're like, ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a nice upgrade, customer. But if they're, I always explain the upgrade to every customer, but if I notice that they're not jiving with me, after I go through about 4 or 5 of the pieces, I say, okay, great. So we basically have 2 of our best specials here at the booth today. One is our upgrade program. You keep all of your knives. You get all the customer requested knives. So the 5 I just explained, also these 4 over here. You trade in your block, we get you a bigger block. It fits all of your knives plus the new knives. And then you get 4 more steak knives. And then we also have our 5-piece special. It just comes with the 5 most popular. It sounds like you guys like that. The upgrade would be a little overkill for you guys. Do you guys want to see what the 5-piece would be? You can kind of go from there. So I just saved like 5 minutes of time or like of not going through all the other pieces. And time is crucial in these like situations and kind of going from there. You can always show like the price comparison of like, hey, if you were to upgrade, it'd be $2,000 today. But what's great, since you're only looking at the 5-piece, it's only $850 today. Couple last things, send marketing to your past customers, send a text out on the first day of the fair, and then send one halfway through, tie them into your mission. So you can get an extra 3 to 5 orders a day, depending on how many customers you have, by just past customer business. So, hey, I know you weren't planning on buying Cutco today. I got a super big goal for August. I want to sell $100,000. Want to sell 50 grand just for this fair alone. Every order counts, even if it's just 1 piece, and tie them into that. So cool. And then just the last thing, just offer a deal. So, I mean, like at the end of the day, for some customers, you're going to need to offer a deal. I always think like, why haggle for 10 minutes and try to explain to them like, that, on a $1,000 package, when I know that if I drop down to a 5-piece and get them on a 5-pay, it's more in their budget, and I can always upsell later. But basically like, just like let them know like, hey, I'm going to make this decision really easy for you. It sounds like this package might be a little bit too much money. Could you live without this? Could you live without this? Throw in some extra stuff for free. Let them know, hey, this is the cheapest you're ever going to find it. Yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome job, Kevin. That was a wonderful message. Great job. Let's give Kevin a hand. Awesome message. Awesome. Took a lot of stuff away from that. And we always hear about close every customer, every package, every time. And the first thing I took away was the more shots you take, the more orders you'll get. Take your shot. Don't be afraid. What do you have to lose? That's one good thing. Another thing I took away is just having a morning routine. Gratitude, meditation, whatever you have to do to get in the zone for that day. to be your best self as well. And then also the efficiency with past customers. Be quick, don't hurry. And the how I code is really awesome. And drop down and upsell later. And make sure you guys are marketing to your past customers, especially with our veterans here that have been working with us for 10 years. Make sure you get that marketing done, which I'm sure you guys all have. So we actually have time for 1 or 2 questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, you can now. We have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah, I had a quick question. Do you ever
Go
have
for it.
where you're showing the upgrade and then they're almost like, oh, I'm good with what I have? Because I know you said you'll show an upgrade, but you can kind of read the person and then you just kind of go to the 5-piece. So I was just curious if you experience that and what you do when they say that.
They're like, I'm happy with what I have.
Yeah.
Um,
Or is that maybe I didn't qualify properly?
yeah, I would say like at that point, sometimes people are just like, they're like, they're just giving you time. They're like, sure, I'll let you show me the new stuff. So sometimes I will qualify them at that point and say, well, just curious, like if I were to get you a deal on a few of these pieces in the upgrade, would you consider getting it today? And then they're like, nah, we're good with what we have. It's like, okay, cool. Peace out. But I would say, if you can tell they were at least interested in like a few of the pieces, kind of like maybe reason with them like, hey, do you guys use like, have you just kind of like what I was saying, have you ever once regretted like your Cutco purchase of like what you guys have? So some of the newer pieces are actually like more practical and the most used pieces in the set. Cause like most people don't carve turkeys every day. Most bread comes pre-sliced. Most people don't butcher chickens. So a lot of people actually use these knives more. I mean, at that point, I honestly just try to sell them a cheese knife or a couple knives and kind of move on if they're like not, yeah, just so I can focus on the next person. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we got time for 1 more question. If anyone has a quick question to ask Kevin Marr, we have time for 1 more. If not, we can just move on to our next speaker.
Hey, Kevin, I had a quick question. So when you're dropping down, do you typically always drop down to a 5-piece? Because I've noticed, especially this last week, you were selling a lot of block sets. Like, are you dropping from like an ultimate to a homemaker? Do you drop down from like one of the 3 sets to a 5-piece typically and then upsell, or how does that typically work for you?
For a new customer,
Yeah, for a new customer that you're like selling knives to.
I think I found that most of my like drop downs are from like either an ultimate or a signature to a homemaker +8. So yeah, definitely like a slow progression because literally with table knives too, like because like in my mind, like the homemaker, obviously the steak knives are great, but it's pretty easy to offsell them on the bigger steak knives, and the homemaker +8 is like half the price of the signature with steak knives. And so just letting them know like, hey, these steak knives are great, but honestly, like we've had these table knives for the last 60 years. Everybody absolutely loves them. They're going to do, they're going to be way sharper than the ones you have at home. They're going to be perfect. And this set is literally half the price, but you get pretty much almost every single thing that you get in this set. So you can always upgrade later. So that's kind of and then after that, I'll kind of ask them too, like, is a block important to you at all? Because if a block's not important to them at all, they're like, we don't care. It's like, all right, well, maybe one of these smaller sets is better for them, like a 5-piece with 8 table knives or 8 steak knives. So is a block important to you is a nice question to ask too.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Great questions, guys. That's all the time we have for questions for Kevin. And I'll let Nick Snider get back on the program and bring us home. Bring us home, Nick. You're on mute.
I'm on mute here. Awesome. Appreciate it, Lucky. Appreciate it all to all of our speakers here today and also at the retreat. The content that has been brought at the retreat and on this call has been great. So appreciate everybody sharing the goods and bringing a lot of goods to the team, and hopefully everybody's learning a lot. So in closing here, next week we start state fairs. Literally next week. It's crazy. This is the time we've all been waiting for. So I cannot wait to share all the hot news with all of you, all the sets that we're selling, all the bundles we sell, all the kitchens that we sell, all the massive biz gift orders we sell. This is going to be the most profitable days that we experience all year. If you don't believe that, check yourself. We will sell $500,000 at Wisconsin, and we're also going to sell $200,000 at Missouri. Like, we're going to hit those numbers. The San Diego County Fair, they actually just grew from 390K to 544K in 1 year. Why can't we do the same thing? If Wisconsin grows by the same amount that San Diego did, we hit 500,000. If Missouri grows by about half of that, we hit 200K. That's 700K as a state fair team. That's all it takes. So be ready. This is where the team players thrive and the selfish reps die. My mindset is I do not care who is in front of me. I'm selling them as much Cutco as I possibly can. I don't care if it's Burns client in front of me and I'm pitching my heart out and serving the client to my best of my ability. I don't care if it's Sam's client in front of me and I'm trying to sell them on a package deal. I'm going to work my butt off to sell as much Cutco as I can to whoever's standing in front of me. I don't even care if it's Mike Dowd's client in front of me. I'm writing up an order for a ridiculous price he offers on his crazy postcard, and then I'm upselling something full price to save the order and make it actually a decent order, right? So I'll sell for anyone and everyone on this team because I know that is how we get to 500,000, working as a team. So remember this. We are starting a movement, something special in Central Region and Cutco as a company. I believe that Wisconsin and Missouri state fairs will be the events that people beg to get in, just like the other massive state fairs around the country. And we're the group that's creating that. We are the team that is going to create massive and unimaginable results. So I look forward to working the good days, the bad days, and all the other days with you guys. We're going to have a record-breaking fair season. So let's go get this bread. Let's go.
Get this bread, guys. Get this bread. Awesome wrap up, Nick. I just want to thank all of our speakers today, Kevin, Philip, of course, Nick. Thank you guys for those wonderful messages. And I just want to say thank you to letting me be your MC today. It was fun. I had fun with it. My first time doing this. And thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to having a record-breaking state fair season. And like Nick said, let's get this bread. LFG, baby. Let's go.
Awesome. Well, hey, appreciate it, guys. Before you guys jump off here, I've got your second set of code words, or our last words are little code words here. So obviously you got the first one. The second code word is season rules. So it's 2 words, but so it's fair season rules. So send me that text before you jump off here. I'm going to stick on as long as you guys need me to. Anyone else that wants to jump off, you are welcome to at this point. Got done a few minutes early. Thanks for jumping on today, and look forward to seeing all of you next week.